was going to say, I hope you've started your clothing line with the Kuyper belt. I think that would be great.
Once I saw somebody have periodic table elements on a belt, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a book of the periodic table poems.
Yes, I remember those. Those are good. Janet Kuypers, everybody.
Thought I would share a few more, and I realized why this is a bonus edition of Chapter 38, Volume 3. This is why it's a bonus, because it's not actually from shows, but it's from going to, kind of like how Birdman would go somewhere and read somewhere, and these would be things in the streets or at open mics and things like that. So these aren't just things from performance art shows. So now that I've explained it, that's why it's not as huge as the other ones, but I have 3 to share with you. This first one, I think, was actually started because I was in a class, my first poetry class. And they gave you an inanimate object and said, write a poem about it. And it was an old photograph.
Yeah.
So I wrote photograph 19th century. The woman in that picture, the image of beauty and softness, of something that shouldn't be touched, that couldn't work, that can't work. Oh, the sepia toning. Oh, the ancient. Oh, the dependency. Oh, the degradation. My mind's been cluttered. Society has done terrible things to me, and now I can't see the woman. I only see the hat, the feather, the adornments of beauty, the preposterous, impractical way that she's been made to be seen and not heard. She's only an image. She was forced with an image. It is a shame. It is a sin. And now I have been tainted with the knowledge of society, with the knowledge of its motives. And now I can't even see the beauty. I can only see the oppression. Oh, it's not like that anymore, they say, as I wipe the makeup off my eyelids and wonder who I'm trying to impress. Different themes, so let's try the humorous one. This one is called On an Airplane with a Frequent Flyer. Quote, I was once on a flight to Hawaii, and then I was waiting in line for the lavatory. There's always a long line for a flight this long, you know. It seems like the bathrooms are always on demand on a flight this long. So I finally got into the washroom, you know, and I looked into the toilet, and someone, well, lost the battle against a very healthy digestive system and left the spoils in the toilet stuck. I mean, maybe, can you imagine what is it going to do if you get this thing stuck in this toilet? I mean, maybe it didn't want to go down well in the sewage tank where all the other stuff or the waste from this thing actually went to. I mean, can you imagine all the stuff this airplane had to carry across the ocean? Well, anyway, I saw this thing stuck in the toilet, and I went to the bathroom, and I opened the door. It still wouldn't budge, right? And so I then tried to flush. Well, it didn't work, so I opened the door after washing my hands, and I stepped out onto the plane again. And there was this long line of people waiting to use this cramped little washroom, and I just wanted to tell them all, you know, I didn't do that. But then I realized that everyone, when then left that plane, would think the exact same thing. This one is called On an Airplane with a Frequent Flyer. No, it's not. That was the old one I read. Why did I say that title? I'm looking at the title, and I said the old poem title. This one's called Some People Want to Believe. And so we were sitting there at Denny's at some suburb of Detroit. I don't know which suburb it was, but we were just there at like 10 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. I was grabbing a bite to eat before I crossed the Ambassador Bridge and traveled into Canada. You know, I really only associate places like Denny's with traveling now. I always stop at some place like Denny's only when taking a road trip and just stopping for some food. I think if I went to a Denny's and I wasn't traveling, I'd really get confused. So anyway, like I said, we were at Denny's and it was morning, so the both of us got breakfast. Now, being a vegetarian, I ordered eggs with hash browns and toast, right? And the waitress says to me, like they do in some no-name town in the middle of America, "You don't want any meat?" Like it's so unheard of to not have meat at breakfast. And I say, "No meat, thank you." And then my friend orders pretty much the same thing. And we sit there for a while, talk and stuff, and then the food comes. And then she says to me, "You're a vegetarian, right?" And I say, "Yes." And then she goes, "But you're eating chicken." And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not. An egg is the animal byproduct, not the animal flesh." And I was about to say that there's a difference between being a vegetarian and being a vegan. And she says, "But if the chicken sat on it long enough, it would become a chicken." And I'm just like, "Well, it's not. It's an unfertilized egg. There's no way. There was never a rooster around it, around this hen, so it could never actually become a chicken." And she's like, "It's a chicken, though." And she just couldn't get past the idea that this wasn't a chicken. And I'm just thinking, my God, does she really think that a chicken can lay eggs without them being fertilized? I mean, they're only like worms and stuff can procreate without two sexes present. So our voices are getting louder and louder. And at the end of the time, I'm saying, I'm saying to her, "That can't actually be true." And she's just like, "I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you." And then I realized that some people, with logic thrown into their face, will still believe what they want to believe.
You really